Welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending this webinar, moving from the US and UK to France. We are so thrilled with Eleonore to attend this webinar. Hello, Eleonore. I will present you Lexidy. Lexidy is a leading law firm specializing in immigration services for international clients. We help people to settle in France, either on a personal basis or to set up a business in France. We help you to choose the visa or resident permit that is most appropriate for your situation so you can achieve your plan while we take care of all the formalities. Lexidy has expanded across Europe and beyond to Spain, Portugal, Greece, Italy, France, and Mexico. Lexidy is a leader in client-centered legal care, always expanding its reach while staying true our core values of simplicity, clarity, and straightforward solution. Our goal remains simple: to ensure that navigating the legal world is as effortless as living in it. Our French team will assist you with all the immigration, tax, and corporate aspect of all your project. I'm Sandra Vannier. I'm the tax and corporate lawyer of Lexidy. I've been a tax and corporate lawyer for 10 years, and I help clients, individuals, and companies understand the tax implication of moving to France. Are they French tax resident? Where will their income be taxed? Do they benefit from tax credit to avoid double taxation? How do they declare their income in French individual tax return? I know, and my team know, how mysterious the taxation is, and it is very important to know whether you're going to be taxed in France and how much will be paid in France. I'm with Eleonore Tavares, our head of Paris office and immigration lawyer. So Eleonore, maybe you can present yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Sandra, for this wonderful introduction. So I'm Eleonore. I'm an immigration lawyer. So we are an immigration law firm based in Paris. So I'm a French registered attorney and specialized in immigration and relocation. So as Sandra outlined, we are based in several European countries, and we really try to provide comprehensive support of your journey to Europe and to France in particular. What we try to do is to be a one-stop shop for everyone. So I'm dealing with all the visa side, while Sandra can help you with all your tax questions, but also if you are a freelancer or an entrepreneur, with your corporate questions as well.
Thank you, Eleonore. So for the webinar, we'll speak about the visa option and legal pathway, the residency process, the tax and financial consideration to move to France. Also, we'll speak about the healthcare system. And finally, we will about renewing your visa and residency permits. And after that, we will answer all your questions. So for the visa option and legal pathway, Eleonore, you can start when you're ready.
Yes, so I'd like to mention, so we have a big family of visa that is called the long stay visa. It's different than the short stay visa. Well, you've understood the difference. The short stay visa involves that you're going back to your home country after the visa expiration, while the long stay visa allow you to renew your visa after your arrival in France and get a French residency permits. So if you plan to be staying in France more than 3 to 6 months, and especially if you like to renew your visa in France, we suggest to apply for a long stay visa. Here I've outlined some of the most popular visa type that we have. In this case, you will see mainly the visas for people that intend to be working in France. If this is not the case, no worries, we have other visa options. So I'd like to break them down in three main categories. So we have all the employee visas that involve having a French working contract or being hired by a French entity and working as an employee in France. There are also possibilities. It's good to know it for people that are hired from companies that are based abroad, but that carry on their work into France. So in this case, you're interested into the employee visa. It's very important to mention that the employer needs to sponsor you, needs to be there behind you. So that's very important, because sometimes I have clients that ask, okay, I want to work in France. I want to be able to be an employee, but it doesn't work like that. The first step is to have an employer and secure a job offer, have an employer that's sponsor you, and then arriving in France with the right employee visa, because otherwise you can be stuck. But a little tip for everyone, and this is valid for any type of visa, we can always change and we can always switch from one visa to another. I have people arriving with other visa types and then they get a job offer, and so we can switch to the employee visa. So everything, almost everything is possible. Then the entrepreneur visa are for people that are not employees, but are freelancers who work for themselves. In this case, no need to have an employer sponsoring you, but it's important to have a business plan, so you know a little bit where you're going. You have to explain more or less what you will do, how much you think you will invoice in France, what kind of clients you think you will have. Once you have this business plan, you need to apply for kind of a working authorization, but we call it an opinion from a special French administration regarding your project in France. And once we have this opinion, then we can apply for the long stay visa. Then another category that I'd like to mention is the talent visa. So this talent category is also like a family for a certain group of visas, and it's mainly for highly skilled professionals, entrepreneurs as well, but as opposed to the normal entrepreneur visa, as I call it, you need to invest a certain amount of money in your company in France to be able to apply for this visa. Or investors, or also artists or people that are renowned internationally. And the main difference with the other visas is that it's often considered as a premium visa, because you can have more quickly a pluriannual residency permit, and you can bring family with you in an easier way than the other visa types. Then, well, we have many different options for families. So, well, the ones that we see mainly are either the families of talent visa holders, but also families of French. And more we see people that are married or in a partnership with EU citizens, and you have like a preferential pathway to get residency in France. So it's good to know that it exists. And of course, if you have someone from your family, not brothers and sisters, but mainly a spouse or dependent children that want to join you in France, we have other visa options for them as well, if you can show that you're a relative of someone who holds French residency permits. Regarding the digital nomad, that's a question that I have a lot, but unfortunately in France, we do not have right now a digital nomad visa or residency, but this is not a bad news, because we have a lot of different options for digital nomads depending on your situation. We have possibilities for remote workers. So no worries if there is not exactly the digital nomad visa. We have many solutions for you. Let's talk about residency. So you're considered a resident. I'm sure that Sandra is going to explain that a bit more in detail for tax purposes, but for immigration purposes, you're considered to be legally residing in France after 6 months. Well, you are legal, of course, as long as you have the right visa or the right residency permit. But in order to renew your visa and get a residency permit, which is a physical card, you have to stay at least 6 months in a year in France. It's important to mention that after your arrival in France, you will be asked to go to a special French administration that is called OFI. And you need to validate your visa. Well, depending on your visa type, either you validate it online, either you can apply right away for a French residency permit. This is the case typically for the passport talent holders. Regarding timelines, it's difficult to say because it depends a little bit from one consulate to another. It can shift, and also from one prefecture to another. So the prefecture, for those who don't know that, is the immigration administration in France, and it's based locally. So depending on where you live in the country, you will be assigned to one or the other, and they all have a little bit their own cuisine, if I can say. Well, we can work in the whole French territory. So in any case, Lexidy is able to accompany you. Well, depending on where you live, we can give you more accurate and exact information. But usually after 1 year in France, you renew your visa online. Yeah, so documents you'll need. We oversimplified this slide because, as you can imagine, it really depends on the residency permit that you're applying to. But I try to put like the most common documents that you will need, and more or less the ones that are needed for every type of visa. Of course, you need your passport, you need a proof of address, you need your income or savings, depending on the visa that you apply for. It's very important to have an insurance. Before arriving in France, you need to subscribe to a health insurance that needs to cover very specific criteria. So be careful with the insurance, because sometimes, well, it's a common reason for rejection, like not having the right insurance. And French love administrative things. So we like having forms, we like paper, we like procedures. So every residency type, every visa type needs to follow their own requirements, and we have a lot of specific forms and applications to fill depending on your application, visa application.
Thank you so much, Eleonore, for these very good things. Now I will speak about tax and financial consideration. So the first thing is very important to determine if you are a French tax resident or not, because if you are a French tax resident, you will have to declare all your worldwide income. And if you are not a French tax resident, you have to declare only your French revenue. So that means if you have rental income in France or dividend interest in France. So in France, so in French internal law, we have 3 alternative criteria to be considered as a French tax resident. If you check one of these criteria, you will be considered as a French tax resident under French internal law. The first is a personal criteria. So that means you have your household in France. So normally it's where your spouse and dependent children live, or where is your primary residency. Or if it's not possible to determine a household, the French tax administration will see where, if France is your main stay. So a lot of people think that if you stay more than 183 days per civil year, but for example, if you stay 5 months in France, 3 months in Portugal, 3 months in Italy, and 1 month in US, you will be considered as French tax resident, because France will be your mainstay, even if you stay less than 183 days per civil year. The second criteria is a professional criteria. So that means your main professional activity is salaried or not. Your main professional activity, salaried or not, is carried out in France. The third criteria is an economic criteria. That means the center of your economic interest is in France. So that means your main investment, your real estate, the seat of your business. And so if you check one of these criteria, will be considered as French tax resident. It's very important to see if you are not a tax resident of another country. For example, for US, if you are a US citizen, you will be considered as US tax resident. In this case, it's very important to see the tax treaty between France and US or France and UK to see where is your tax residency, because you cannot be tax resident of both countries. So the tax treaty will determine where is the country of your tax residency. The first criteria state that in the country where you have a permanent home available for you. That means always available for you. If you rent your home to a third party when you are in France, or when you rent your property when you are in US, in France, that means it will be not available for you. If you have two permanent homes, or if you don't have any permanent home, it's the state in which you have the personal and economic relations. So that means, like we said before, the main investment, your business for economic relations, and personal, that means your personal occupation, if you have like some activities, some hobbies where your family is. And if you have two centers of economic and personal interest, it's rare. It's the country where you stay the most. So normally, with this criteria, you can determine. If you are French tax resident, like we said before, you have some obligation as a French tax resident. As a French tax resident, every year you have to file a French tax return. So the French tax return, it's in mid-April to end of May. So for example, for 2024, it will be now in April 13 to May 2022, 2025. You have to declare all your worldwide income in France, including income from the UK and the US. It doesn't mean that your income will be taxable in France. For example, for US retired people, all your retirement pensions under Social Security, all your IRA distributions, all this type of income are not taxable in France. So that means you have to declare them in your French tax return, but you don't pay any income tax for these revenues, but you have to declare them. It's very important. In France, you have also to declare all your foreign accounts. That means your investment account, saving accounts, the trust you have, all these accounts have to be declared. But you don't have to declare the amount you have on this account, except for the trust. You have to indicate the date of opening, the type of account, the address, because it's just for the French tax administration to know that you have foreign account. It's very important because if you failed to declare your account, you have to pay a fine of 1,500 euros per account non-declared per year. So it can be very, very important for some people. So you just have to declare, and you don't have to declare the amount you have. In France, we are subject to a tax scale bracket, so the progressive tax system. So that means we have rates range them to 11% to 45% for the highest revenues. It's very important also to understand that in France, we calculate the revenues for the household. So that means if you are married, you have to make a joint tax return. If you have also a child or children, you have to declare them because it will be reduced your income tax. So it's very important. For the dividends, interest, and capital gains, we have a fixed rate for income tax. It's 12.8% for now. It can be changed in the next month. We hope not, but we have some changes. So that means for this, it's not subject to the progressive tax system, but we have a fixed rate, except if the progressive tax system is more advantageous for you. So you can opt for this. We have income tax in France, but we have also social security contributions, and we have social security contribution on all our income. So that means on active income, salaries, professional activity, freelancer, retirement pensions, but we have also social security contributions on passive income. It's a fixed rate for passive income. It's 17.2%. It's for rental income, dividends, interest, and capital gains. Finally, like I said, we have like a double taxation agreement. We have a very good tax treaty with US because we have a lot of advantage for US citizen. Like I said, for retirement pensions for US, also like IRA distribution, it's not taxable in France. It's the same for dividend, interest, and capital gains if they are US sources, very important. So that means from US company, US debtors. It's in your US citizen and you are French tax resident, this dividend, interest, and capital gains are taxable only in US. So it's very advantageous for you. For UK, it's a little bit, sorry, we don't have these advantages. So that means for retirement pensions, we have to declare them and it's taxable in France, except for retirement pensions if you are you worked for public functions. So that means in all the case, we have this double taxation agreement to avoid to pay twice for the same amount. So that means if the amount is taxable in France, you will have a credit tax in UK. And if the amount is taxable in UK or in US, you will have a credit tax in France. It's very important to consult a tax advisor or tax lawyer for your French tax return, for your first French tax return, because it can be, it's in French, and also it's very important to know where you have to indicate the right amount to avoid to pay in France taxes. And also you can have like a tax consultation to know your tax simulation, or to have like more services, or to better understand your specific situation. And now we talk about the healthcare system. How to register for French healthcare. Eleonore, if you can.
Yes. So yeah, that will be a quick one. It depends a little bit on your situation, but basically, as a general rule, after 3 months of living in France, so for instance, with your French long stay visa or your residency permits, you can apply to the French Social Security. So Social Security is the healthcare. I know that it can be a bit confusing because in other countries it's about retirement, but no, in France it's healthcare. And so, as I mentioned, everyone can do that. It's just that you need to be in France for 3 months. So all residents can apply for this Social Security registration. And in any case, before you arrive in the country, if you're applying for a long stay visa, it will be necessary in any case to have a private health insurance that meets the conditions of the long stay visa that you're applying for. Once your application is sent, everything is in order, it's being processed. Well, I want to warn you that it takes a very long time. Unfortunately, this is not very quick, but again, it depends a little bit on the area where you're living in France. Then you will get a carte vitale, which is a physical green card that everyone has here in France. That is necessary when you go to the doctor or when you go to the pharmacy to be reimbursed. In any case, we always suggest, it's not mandatory, but it's good to have a top-up insurance, which is called mutuelle in French, that can help you to cover the part that the public system doesn't pay. Yeah, renewing your visa and residency permits. So how and when to renew your visa? So in any case, well, in general, the long stay visas are for 1 year and then you can renew it. And you can start the renewal process. Usually I advise 4 months before the expiration to be sure that you don't miss any deadline and that you don't go under a very stressful and difficult time if the prefecture takes time to process your renewal application. So it's always better to do it well on time. And in order to renew, basically, you need to show that you continue to meet the requirements of your residency permit, or if you want to change residency permit, that you meet the requirements of the next residency that you apply for. Yeah, frequently asked questions. I'll give back the floor to Sandra, but before that, I've seen one question in the chat about someone that is a retiree and that we didn't mention the visa. That's true. I focused on the working visa, but I think it's interesting to mention our top selling product, the famous visitor visa, which is perfect for retirees and for people that do not intend to be working in the country. And you have basically 3 main conditions. You need to have a healthcare, as I mentioned before, enough savings or income to support your stay in France, not be working in the country. So it's quite simple, quite easy. You can have a 1-year renewable visa after 5 years in France, in any case, for any visa type. You can apply for a 10-year residency permit, which is the maximum you can get. Yeah.
Thank you, Eleonore. So yes, maybe we can speak about frequently asked questions, and after that, we try to answer the question you put on Q&A and also on the discussion, because I saw that you put on both. So our frequently asked question, the first is, what's the easiest visa option if I just want to try living in France for a year?
Yeah, well, in this case, it's definitely the famous visitor visa, the one I just mentioned, because it can give you flexibility. You can stay here. The requirements are not very difficult to meet. So that would be my answer, definitely.
The first question is for me, do I need to pay taxes in both the UK, US, and France? Like I said before, we have a tax treaty, so that means it's possible that you paid in both countries, but not for the same revenues. So that means, for example, like I said, for US people, if you are US retired, you will pay US retirement pensions and IRA distribution and maybe all your US dividends in US. But if you have some other things like dividend from European Union, you will pay that in France. So you don't pay in both countries for the same income, but yes, it's possible to pay in the both country. The third question is, how hard is it to rent a flat if I don't have French income?
That's a difficult one. No, not that difficult. Well, it depends a little bit on the landlord. It's not mandatory to have a French income in order to rent a flat. What you need to do is to reassure the landlord, showing that you have the assets. So that's something important. It's true that often it depends on the place in France where you intend to rent. But in Paris and in the big cities, especially, they tend to ask for more documents than in other places. And it's good if you can show that you have some funds.
Is healthcare completely free in France, or do I need private insurance? I think you already answered this question, but...
Yeah, we've seen that. Yes, well, you can apply for the PUMA, the universal protection, but then if you want a top up mutual, you can take a private one.
Can my partner spouse work if they move with me?
It depends on your own visa. If you have a talent visa, yes, they will be able to work. If you're the spouse of a French or a EU citizen, yes, you will be able to work. Otherwise, it's generally not the case, but in order to make sure that your situation falls within the working authorization or not, it's recommended to have a consultation, because it really depends on the visa you apply for and the visa that your spouse already has.
And the last question is, what's the biggest cultural shock most expats experience?
Wow, I was not expecting this one. I don't know, maybe the administrative side of France, because we need a lot of, like, we have a lot of procedures. At the end of the day, you can sort out everything. But in France, we like to have rules and to follow them and to, well, it's a very administrative country, and that's why a lot of people need us.
That's true. So now I will take some questions. I know that you have a lot of questions, so I hope we covered a lot. On UK visa requirement, they ask for proof of accommodation for the entire length of stay. We plan to tour, so do not have this. What address should we put, and will it be accepted without address?
So you can definitely not apply without an address. You will need to have an accommodation, but in the UK, we file application every week for the visa centers in the UK, and you do not need an accommodation for the entire length of the stay. 1 or 2 months is enough, and you can have someone hosting you. You can rent a place or book a Airbnb or a hotel. Even Airbnb is recommended for at least 1 month in order to have a stable address before you move.
Thank you. Do documents need to be translated into French? If so, do you provide that service?
Well, another time, it depends on your visa application. For instance, for the visitor visa, no documents need to be translated. Everything can be submitted in English, but for other visa types, it's necessary to translate them in French, especially the entrepreneur visas, where we submit business plans, cover letters, etc., because they are examined by a French administration that is based in France. So in this case, yes. And when you renew your visa, depending again on the residency permit that you have or that you'll be applying to, you will need to translate some of the elements. Yes.
Thank you. A question from me. Can you discuss wealth tax? I hope to buy a house in France soon, but if I sell my house in California at some point, say within 5 years, and I make a profit on the real estate sale, will I have to pay capital gains tax to France and the USA? If it is over 1.3 million euros. So I think you confused two things. So you have wealth tax and also capital gains on real estate. So for wealth tax, it's only if you hold a real estate in France or abroad over 1.3 million euros. For the first years, for the first 5 years, sorry, if you are a new French tax resident, so that means you will be not a French tax resident since the 7 past year, you have only to declare the real estate in France if you own the real estate more than 1.3 million euros. For the capital gains on real estate, it's completely different. Normally, if you sell your house in USA, but you are already a French tax resident, you will have to pay capital gains on France. We have some exemption. For example, if you own your property more than 30 years, you don't pay any capital gains. But if it's not your primary residency at the date of the sale or when you put on sale, you will pay capital gains on France. And the capital gains on France are 19% of income tax and 17.2% of social security contribution. So my recommendation will be to sell your house or to put your house on sale before you move to France and to become French tax resident. If you cannot, and you will have to pay capital gains on France, in France, but if you own your property more than 30 years, you will not have to pay any capital gains on France because we have this exemption. So I see your special situation. Is there a long stay visa like retirement, but give us the flexibility of taking a job if we find one?
Yes, so yes and no. So the one that you mentioned, like retirement, would be the visitor visa where you cannot work. If you find a job, if you secure a job offer, or if you want to open your own company in France and work as a freelancer, you can come to us and we can help you to switch status from visitor to entrepreneur or from visitor to an employee visa. The door is always open, but be careful when you go to the prefecture. If you try by your own, you will get negative answers. They will tell you, no, this is not possible because this is not common. And usually even the people that are working in the prefecture are not used to doing that. But in the law, it's pretty clear. Like you can apply for whatever residency permit you want, as long as you meet the requirements of the next residency that you're applying to. And we've carried on many change of status, especially from visitor to entrepreneur, but also from visitor to employee. It's not easy. It's definitely not a piece of cake, but that's possible. So it can give you some flexibility, yes.
My wife and I are considering retiring to France. Is it easier to apply for citizenship by heritage once you are living there, or are these unrelated things?
Yeah, good question. So it's unrelated, really. But when you apply for citizenship through ancestry, if the request is rejected, there is another process that is called citizenship through reintegration. This is for people that lost the French citizenship through ancestry because they did not use it for a certain period of time. The rule is 50 years. But if you can show that you have links with France, that you travel to France, or that you maintain some links with the country, you can apply for reintegration into French citizenship. And that's when being physically in France become interesting.
Thank you. Would you please talk a bit more about an entrepreneur, marketing consultant, moving to France with an established business? They are looking to continue operating in France.
Yes, for the entrepreneur. So if you do have your business, this will help us because you know what you're doing. You will have a business plan. Well, in your case, I think that both solutions of the normal entrepreneur or the talent for entrepreneur visas are definitely on the table. It just depends on the investment that you're willing to make in France. For the normal entrepreneur visa, you do not need to invest anything in your company in France. But if you want the talent one, you will need to invest 30K, so 30,000 euros in your business in France. So that's the main difference. And then for all the incorporation questions, I leave the floor to Sandra when the time comes.
Thank you. What kind of long stay visa would be best for someone who will not be working for a French company, but will be freelancing via computer outside of the country? For example, I am a writer on who will be published in the US.
Well, if you do not have any links with the French labor market, so no French company, no French entity, no French clients, no French contracts, you can have a visitor visa, but be careful with the tax implications and speak with Sandra before you do that. Yes, but if you want to register yourself as a freelancer, entrepreneur visa is definitely your answer.
Thank you. Yes, it's very important to know that even if you are a freelancer registered in another country, if you are alone and you work from home, Possibly you are a permanent establishment in France and you have to pay income tax on these revenues in France. We have to study your situation, but you have to keep in mind that maybe even if you are not freelancer in France, you can have to pay income tax in France on these revenues. If I am to get married to my girlfriend during the long stay visa, does that help affect becoming resident?
Absolutely not. For French law, getting married is a constitutional right. So you can get married no matter, even if you don't have a residency permit. So no, absolutely not. And I would say that that would even be a good thing for becoming a resident or even applying for citizenship in the future, because it shows that your center of interest is in France, your family, personal life is in France, and this is always a plus. So.
Thank you. We have a lot of questions, so I try to.
Yeah.
Can I convert a student visa to a long stay visa?
A student visa usually is a long stay visa that can be renewed. So I would say yes, but then it depends. If you have a short visa, it will be difficult. But if you have a long stay student visa, yes, you can renew it and convert it.
Are you able to work while in France on a long stay visitor visa?
Ay. That's a difficult one. You're not supposed to be working in France. You have to sign a paper at the consulate saying that you're not going to be working in France. And as I mentioned, you cannot have links with the French labor law market. This is very important.
I own a US-based S Corp and I am the only employee with no French clients. I wish to move to France permanently and work as a digital nomad. Will I have to use the entrepreneur visa, or is there a way to use the long-term visitor visa?
I think that in your case, it would be good to have maybe a consultation and a deeper understanding on what do you do exactly, how much you earn, how is your work structure, in order to make sure that we cover all the aspects and that we give you a sound information.
For the VLSTS visa, is it enough to show 4,000 euros in savings account, insurance and rental contract, or do I also need to show how I have a monthly income?
It's not necessary to show that you have a monthly income. Any type of proof will be acceptable. Usually when we work together, we will ask you to send us your proof of savings or funds or income, and we will organize it in the best possible way. But in any case, any type of proof is accepted. Then it's a way of how to present it in the consulate so it looks good, but that's our job.
Interesting question. If staying in France under 183 days does not trigger tax residency, will it still be enough days to be in France for 182 days to keep the VLSTS visa?
That's a difficult one to answer here. I think I mentioned that you need to be, well, the law states that you need to be in France for at least 6 months in a year in order to renew your visa.
If I get a job remotely outside of France after I have visitor visa long stay, do I have to change my visa?
As long as you meet the requirements of the visa that you hold, you can continue to have it. But if it's a visitor, this involves not being working in France.
Can you work for, you answer, can you work for an American company remotely on a long stay visa?
I think that we've already answered those points. I see that it's very interesting for all of you. So I hope that you have enough information now with everything that we explained, but feel free to reach out to us If needed, we offer a free 15 minutes consultation for our new customers. So don't hesitate to reach out if you want something more personalized.
Exactly. And it's the same because we have some tax and social security implication. So feel free to reach me and have a tax consultation to be sure that even if you have the visa, you have also like all the information of the taxes, implication of tax and social security.
So many questions.
Yes, 12.8% tax was what again? It's a flat tax for dividend, capital gains, and interest that you earned. I was told by one of your consultants that I'm able to continue to teach an online class in the US so long as I earn all the money in the US is still possible on a retiree visa.
So we are still going back to the same question. So, well, it's interesting to see that's really a common question, interrogation that all of you have. So I repeat, as long as you do not have links with the French labor law market, that you make sure that you cover the social and tax implications, you can, well, you cannot work in France with the visitor visa. So be very careful that you do not have links with the French market.
How many times can you renew your long stay visa?
As many times as you like, but just for you to know, after 5 years of renewal, you can apply for the 10-year residency card, which is the maximum you can get in France. And depending on the long stay visa that you have, sometimes after one renewal, you can have a 2-year card or a 4-year. And this is up to 10 years, of course. Mm-hmm.
Is there a list of which prefectures are easier to work with?
I like this. It's like prefecture shopping. Well, all of them are more or less the same, but of course, the ones that are located in areas where you have a lot of people are a bit more difficult to reach to. Yeah, we prefer working with smaller prefecture, but then yeah, so but it depends. I mean, for instance, we are based in Paris and it works quite well with the Parisian prefecture, so it can depend. I don't like to choose the prefectures, but at the end of the day, like, you choose the place where you want to live, where you feel good, and that will be your prefecture. In any case, we'll be able to deal with them. No worries.
How soon before planning to move to France should we contact you for assistance?
It depends on the visa you're applying to. If you're applying for the visitor visa, we can have everything sorted out in 2 months. If you apply for one of the talent visa, this requires more preparation and more time. Depending on the visa, maybe 4 even more months in advance.
Thank you for me. You mentioned 17.2% on dividends and interest. What is the difference between it and the 12.8? So the 12.8% is for income tax and the 17.2% is for social security contribution. So that means you have to pay 30% of income tax and social security contributions if you receive dividends, interest, or capital gains. Is there an avoidance of double taxation between France and Switzerland? Yes, we have a tax treaty between France and Switzerland to avoid double taxation. If you already have the carte vitale, when you renew your visa, do you have to have a private insurance as you did when applying for the first time?
No. You can apply with the carte vitale and that will be fine.
Thank you. If you rent out your home in the US on Airbnb, can you still claim it as a primary residence while living in France? It depends. If you stay in France less than 6 months, I will say, and you stay more than 6 months in US, yes, you can claim as a primary residency. But for example, if you rent 8 months in a year and you stay 8 months in France, it will be complicated to say that it's your primary residency. Can you apply for citizenship after so many years in France?
Well, after 5 years of of residency in France, you can apply for citizenship through residency. We call it naturalisation. And yes, you need to show that you are a French resident, that all of your centers of interest are based in France, that you speak French, that you know French culture, things like that. And yes, after 5 years.
We have some question. How do I book the 15 minutes? So I presume that after the webinar,
Yes.
we will receive all the contacts.
Yes.
Book 15 minutes with
Yeah,
our.
you will have it.
No
You will
worries.
receive an email, and if you tap Lexidy on Google, you will also have our landing page with the meeting that you can book.
If I have investment in European companies, will I be required to pay gains in France? My understanding is that US investments are not taxed in France. Like I said, if you are a US citizen and you received US dividends, so that's mean from US sources, no. So normally US company, it will be not taxed in France, only in US. If you received normally investment in European companies, it will be taxed in France. But you have some people say that if it's in a fund, an investment fund, if you have like more than 80% of US companies, maybe it's possible that this investment in European company can be considered as US. But normally the law say that European companies, you have to pay in France, and US companies, you will be paid in US only if you are a US citizen, very important. I already have a French bank account. I'm applying for a visitor visa. Is it better to place funds in this account as proof?
Any type of proof is accepted. So either a French one or a foreign one is fine. It's not mandatory to have a French bank account, but if you can, that's perfect.
Thank you. I will just mention that the 15 minutes call will be not with Eleonore directly, very important, but with one of our legal advisor like Piotr or Ilona. So no worries if you don't see Eleonore in the 15 minutes call, but you will be in good hands. All the immigration team is wonderful, so no worries. And the 15 minutes is for immigration and also for corporate. Unfortunately, for tax, we have legal consultation because I give some legal advice, so it's a paid consultation. A rental lease is required to get a visitor visa, yet unless I have a visa effective date to live in France, I don't know when to rent. Your advice? Am I required?
Yeah, it's strange. I had the same question today from a client. You can rent before, or at least until from the starting date of your visa. I don't know if I answer your question because we have a lot of questions, so I don't find it in written. But the idea is that we need to provide an address, and the address needs to start on your planned arrival dates in France. But if you start renting before, of course, that's not an issue.
Thank you. I'm sorry, we have a lot of questions, so we cannot answer all your questions, but feel free to reach out to have the 15 minutes consultation, and we will be happy to help you to find the best visa for you. So yes, unless you have you see another question you want to answer, but I have a lot, so.
Yeah, well, I'm looking. We still have a few minutes. So yeah, well, Leon asked if there is a preferred health insurance company that we recommend. Yes, we used to work with the Fab Insurance. We like working with them because they are 100% compliant and they offer a full refund guarantee. So if your visa is rejected, you'll get all your money, which usually never happens if we work together. Be careful because it's mandatory to have a proper insurance that covers all the requirements for the long stay visa. Very often we see people trying to apply with a travel insurance, which is not for residents of France. So be very careful with this. And well, FAB insurance, they are 100% compliant. So this is definitely what I would recommend. I'm having a look.
Just see Trina, she has two questions. Is starting a succursale, is it under the profession libérale visa?
I would say yes, but it depends on your project. You also have the company owner talent visa, which is perfect as well for company owners. So one or the other is a good idea. Yeah. What are the requirements for savings if you are retired? So the important thing to keep in mind is that the threshold is the minimum wage, the French minimum wage, which changes all the time. But today we are around 18,000 euros for a year, or 1,004 or 5, more or less, in monthly installments. So if we compare it to other European countries that offer visas for investment, it's quite low. And I like to say that I'm stealing a lot of clients from my colleagues of the other jurisdictions, because at the end of the day, they choose France because it's a bit easier and less, you have to invest less or show less money in your bank account. So this is a good thing. If you are on the financial independent visa, so I imagine that you mean the visitor visa, do you need to submit tax forms for France, Sandra?
It depends if you're a French tax resident or not.
Okay.
So if you're a French tax resident, yes, even if you don't have any income taxable in France, very important.
Yeah, and then if we need to register at the local police, no, it's only a validation that you do online, or depending on the visa that you have, you request directly the residency permit. This is for the talent visa usually. Okay. Once registered within 2 months of arrival in France on a long stay, how long does it take to do the medical or be called for an interview? Do I need to worry? No, you don't need to worry. Sometimes people, after 1 year, never been called, or maybe they change addresses, so they never got the appointment confirmation. Don't worry about that. We'll be still able to help. And regarding the length, it depends a little bit on which is the prefecture which you depend on. So yeah, I think that we are done with the time. I'm aware of the timing, so unfortunately we'll have to leave you and leave this beautiful webinar. Thank you all of you for attending this. We had a lot of people, we had a lot of questions. That's amazing. We'll try to organize another one very soon. And in the meantime, feel free to reach out to us. Again, you have a 15 minutes free of charge consultation, and we'll be happy to meet you.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Have a good day. Bye.